But first, I just want to pay off the tease from yesterday on sort of the details on this kickoff fair catch thing. And if you're thinking, why should I care about this? Here's why you should care about this. Because, and I started hinting at this in yesterday's show, if you go into any coaching meeting, summit, or discussion that they'll even have, like in a special teams meeting at the start of a season or anything like that, they're gonna hit home the importance of field position. And this should not be complicated, right? Where you start your drive, you either have a much harder chance of scoring or a much better chance of scoring based on how far you have to go. That's not that hard. One team that shared some data with me says that starting a drive inside their own 20-yard line. So think about that. We always look at the 20. Like you try to pin a team inside their 20. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason for that is because they would only score points 3% of the time. Wow. Starting inside the 20. So just think about that as like a coach. If we can pin them inside the 20, there's almost virtually no chance they score.
It's huge.
Right? Big. If you can get to the 40-yard line, however, on a return, your own 40, you go from a 3% chance to a 33% chance of scoring points. So field goal or touchdown is just scoring points. Okay, so you've greatly increased your chances of scoring just by getting the 40. And if you're able to break a huge return and get all the way to the other 40, your opponent's 40, now you have over a 50. Now you flip a coin, there's a chance you're getting points on this drive. So that's why this matters so much in the context of them getting rid of kickoffs. If we're going to talk about an NFL where there's no kickoffs, that variance, now you can still do it on punts, sure, but let me turn into special teams Hoge now for a second. I always tell our kids that the kick return is the first offensive play of the drive.
I like that.
And think about the NFL these days. It's all about explosive plays. These coaches, that's what they talk about every week. Stopping explosive plays on defense and getting explosive plays on offense. Well, on a kick return, you have a great chance of starting your drive with an explosive play right there. And that's going to greatly impact your chances of scoring. So that's why this may not matter as much to just the casual fan, and I totally get it. But this is why it was such a hot topic and why coaches care about it so much. And why, quite frankly, whatever the concussion data says, whatever the injury data is, coaches don't want to see kickoffs go away for everything I just explained. Because when you're trying to start a drive, you want to get a big return. And on the flip side, when you're kicking off, everything's about pinning that team back. Which gets us to why this new rule is in place, okay? So if you follow the history of the last decade, the NFL has toyed with kickoffs a ton, all right? So it started with them. Kickoffs used to be at the 30-yard line. Mm-hmm. They moved it up to the 35. They tried to get more balls into the end zone, more touchbacks to limit the actual amount of returns. The problem is with the starting position being at the 20, teams still found if we take the ball out of the end zone, we're still probably going to get past the 20. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't still a lot of incentive for them not to take it out. Yes, you might have seen more balls go through the back of the end zone, but when they were short, teams were still taken out. So then they moved touchbacks to the 25 and said, oh, well, now you get an extra 5 yards if you just kneel down. And still, though, we've seen teams have a willingness to bring it out. But the other thing that happened was, think about it from the kickoff side, they realized as kickers got better and better at directionally kicking, if you hit a high ball into the corner and try to pin them into the corner, you have a great chance of actually pinning them back. So now we started seeing teams kick short of the end zone on purpose. Whichever way you look at it, there's a resistance from coaching staffs. And when you hear Richard Hightower yesterday talk about, well, schematically as a coach, I'm just thinking about how we handle this. They're going to come up with the next thing that still keeps the ball in play. Because whether you're on the kickoff team or the return team, They want to see a play happen because you can greatly increase or decrease the chance of your opponent from scoring based on that play right there on the kickoff. So there's always going to be a next thing. And that's why you hear Eberflus last week say, well, I think you're going to see more squib kicks. You know, whatever it is, the coaches are going to adjust to it. The kickers are going to adjust to it. And I think that we're just eventually going to reach the point where they're just going to have to get rid of kickoffs if they really want to reduce concussions. Now, my last thing on this is Karma's incredibly bored right now, and I get it.
Informal poll. What did you enjoy more, Hoge's special teams thing or Carm's white hair? Go.
The data here in all this is sketchy at best.
For the concussions on...
Yes. So, a lot of credit here to Albert Breer, who's done a great job reporting this over the last few weeks. So some of this is from him. Some of it's from other data the NFL's put out. Some of it's from my conversations I've had with people. But Breer put in a story a couple weeks ago that part of the reason why this is such an issue this year is because they have seen an uptick in concussions on kickoffs.
Okay.
The last 3 years. There were 10 concussions on kickoffs in 2020, 14 in 2021, and 19 last season.
Okay.
So it's gone up from 10 a couple seasons ago to 19 last year. But when you have 2,700 kickoffs, that means that 99.3% of them are concussion-free.
Yeah, they're almost trying to...
It's
I don't know
football.
if they're... Yeah, they're almost trying to just pick on the kickoff. Like,
yes.
You're the thing that's causing the concussions, and we alter these rules, we'll have 19 less.
On top of it, 11 of the 19 concussions last year happened when a returner took the ball out of the end zone anyway.
So maybe
So it wouldn't have stopped 11 of the 19 concussions, this new rule. Based on the NFL data that they've put out there, they believe this new rule is going to reduce concussions by 15%. I don't know how you prove that, but that's the number they put out there. What is 15% of 19? 2.85. So all of this, if you're bored right now of everything I just said in the last 10 minutes, where I tried to explain to you why kickoffs are so important in the game, why coaches care so much about them, how they actually do have an enormous impact on your chances of scoring, and why it would be so much more boring to have every drive just start at the 25. All of this for 2.85 concussions? This was political. It was Roger Goodell. He magically turned the votes in like 12 hours overnight when half the league was against this. And shout out to you, George McCaskey, and the Chicago Bears, because they were one of 6 teams that still had the balls to vote against this.